Emily, one of the more interesting articles I read over the weekend was whether China would unleash the People's Liberation Army to try and quell some of the protesters. But now we have many of those demonstrators looking like they will disperse. Do you think this threat has been front and centre for the demonstrators?
Well, you know what, Karen, it's been fairly quiet here in Hong Kong as things get back to, I guess, somewhat normalcy. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying did give an ultimatum asking for the protesters to clear the way, remove the blockade so that his civil servants, about 3,000 of them that work in the government offices just about 200 meters from this location right here so that they can get into work. Now, they didn't remove the blockades, but what they did was they opened about a 2-meter walkway so that they could file into work. Now, just taking a look behind me, you know, it is lunchtime here in Hong Kong, about almost 1:30 p.m. local time. And noticeably, there are a few more people that are roaming the streets just down below me here. But of course, largely peaceful, very quiet. And most of this is curious onlookers, people that are curious, taking photos, people coming back, going back to the office after, of course, their lunch break. Now, it was quite an eventful weekend. Over in Mong Kok, another protest site, there was pepper spray that was being used, reports of triads and bloody confrontation, some reporters also being injured, and women being molested. But of course, none of that happening today after calls by the chief executive here, C.Y. Leung, for the protesters to disperse. They have not. And the latest statement from the Hong Kong Federation of Students, if you may remember, this is the group that started things 2 Fridays ago. They had the boycott of the classes, which of course led up to where we are today, saying that the 3 requirements were not met. One being they must be several rounds of talks with the government, students must be treated as equals in those government talks, and that the government has to recognize and execute the outcome of the talks. So right now, of course, things are very, very peaceful, and we're just keeping an eye out on the protests. Karen.
And just quickly, the market seems to have responded as though this is an issue that we can move past. Do you think that's the case, or is this just a lull in what we're seeing in proceedings?
Karen, we did get comments from the chairman of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, that being C.K. Chow. He said that the mood of the markets today is much better and the business is as normal. Last week we had a pullback of about 2.5% to the Hang Seng Index. Today we have some gains coming through, up about 0.6% the last time we checked here, and following on from the positive lead that we have around the region. They're saying that Hong Kong, he is disturbed and unsettled by the events of the protests, but he hopes that protesters can consider the inconvenience being caused to the general public here in Hong Kong. So it looks like we are trying to, get back to business as normal, but there is some, still small numbers of protesters that remain here on the streets. Back to you.